On May 23, 1993, wax, or the discovery of television among the bees, entered the internet, projected by a cable into a wall. Inside that internet, there are no movies there. And so wax, waiting until the last frame enters the wall, then begins the first movie on the internet, to continue forever, for that is how the first movie on the internet begins, at the first frame after the last frame. A true story, and this is that movie, and in reverse. And so, we begin.
As you are aware, the internet is a DVD on a coffee cup. I could show you how that happens, how the handle of the coffee cup becomes the hole in the center of the DVD. How the interior of the coffee cup disappears into the surface of a flat disc as I spin. I am the first movie on the internet. I am inside a DVD on a coffee cup. I could show you how that happens. How the movie appears between two frames, between the front and the back of the DVD disc. I am the first frame after the last frame. I am the movie in the DVD on the coffee cup. I am wax, or the discovery of television among the bees. I am 999 years, 364 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 48 seconds long. And then it was dark, until dawn.
This was the birthplace of the plutonium bomb. This was the birthplace of the plutonium bomb. This was the birthplace of the plutonium bomb. This was the birthplace of the plutonium bomb.
Heat rises from the road. Sewers of magma run under white sands, heading off towards the Pacific spill zones. Volcano control is truly one of the wonders of this age. Jacob's face. The guy who tried to hand you a Bible outside of the supermarket. Microfiche Bible, in a really tiny box. Quite a novelty, but you didn't take it anyway. The guy who helped you operated the genealogy computer at the main Mormon library. The guy who served you noodles on that Northwestern flight to North Dakota 7 years ago. Lots of possible matches running behind your eyes at this moment.
The marker was my goal. The marker was my goal. The marker was my goal. The marker was my goal.
The Trinity site marker in the distance, with the fence in the foreground. A place shaped like an earthwork, with ritual entry through twin circular fences. In truth, however, the marker is a prisoner, and wears an ankle bracelet. If it tries to leave the perimeter, owls hoot and the bugs fly off to the telephone to wake up the warden. Immediate parole violation. This marker stays here, whether it wants to or not. People come to it, not the other way around. Though it dearly wishes it were the other way around. Closer to the marker, which is quiet now. At night, it is surrounded by little lights, tiny fragmented ghosts of the original bomb, spark memories of the original flames. They burn and bounce, leaving no visible mark on the surface, which is already pretty charred, since they glued together leftover volcano trash to make this thing. Jacob walking down road towards that fence. A tilt of his head reveals the marker, mineral fragment that fell off the moon and arrived here 3 years ago, crushing the original monument. Noon noticed, since it looked just the same, and in any case people don't visit here too often.
If there were bees, I was glad I had my suit on. If there were bees, I was glad I had my suit on. If there were bees, I was glad I had my suit on. If there were bees, I was glad I had my suit on.
Jacob finally passing through the gate, as if entering heaven. It was been left open, anticipating someone's arrival. Should he close it behind him? Inside the gate, Jacob continues in his diagonal progress towards the fatal Cur. He doesn't have his gloves on. The bees know this, and are already thinking about his fingers.
On the BTV, I could see myself. I was approaching the marker. On the BTV, I could see myself. I was approaching the marker. On the BTV, I could see myself. I was approaching the marker. On the BTV, I could see myself. I was approaching the marker.
Jacob, who is small, circles around this monument to technology, kept out of the way of the main bus routes. Mr. Fermi thought that this bomb, not the marker, though perhaps it has aspirations to reincarnate form, would ignite the atmosphere and burn the world, so rubbed himself down with suntan oil and waited for that. Others thought it just wouldn't go off. Both were wrong. The effect was, still is, somewhere in between the end of the world and nothing at all. That's why we the people keep buying them, as an investment in the future. He just keeps walking, and every few minutes someone or something pulls the carpet, and he slips back in time, just a wee bit, but enough to pile up a continuing and serious sense of déjà vu. One problem with déjà vu is that it has a paradoxical nature. Pile too many up, one on top of the other, and eventually you start thinking that the image before you is something that you never knew and will never remember. He walks out of a dissolve and darkness into the BTV, a fan-shaped Cinerama screen showing the same and simultaneous sight we seem to have just left. The bees, like recursion, leave imprints of it everywhere.
I couldn't remember where this place was. I couldn't remember where this place was. I couldn't remember where this place was. I couldn't remember where this place was.
On the BTV, we see the back of badly dressed Jacob's head. Helmet is on somewhat sideways. He is approaching the gate. Clunk, 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 as if Noon can see he's coming. Doesn't he know this is some sort of trap? Laid out like a desert fish net? We look down along the fence, right at the fatal entrance to Trinity, the triple site. Here, there, and everywhere. Now, then, and again. What? Why not? Let's do it. Lots of threes. A reverse angle on BTV. Jacob walks in from the dark on the unattached side of the frame, and stops to look. He is right in the middle of a seesaw, past and future, front and back, fight or flee, foe or friend, what or who.
I did know that once I had traveled across the ocean to Basra in Mesopotamia in order to find the Tower of Babel. I did know that once I had traveled across the ocean to Basra in Mesopotamia in order to find the Tower of Babel. I did know that once I had traveled across the ocean to Basra in Mesopotamia in order to find the Tower of Babel. I did know that once I had traveled across the ocean to Basra in Mesopotamia in order to find the Tower of Babel.
Jacob's ovoid point of view, straight through the gates to the marker. Here space becomes time, nimble as blink those bees are with these changes from one dimension to another without the slightest haptic anomaly, dizziness, vomiting. Inside that ovoid beat of shape, along the vast desert mountains, the whole world moves fast, rotating around the great axle, which conveniently passes from the top of the sky right down through the center of the Trinity marker. Out there, at the mountains, a long radius from here, they're traveling hundreds of miles an hour. Right here, let's say about 10 revolutions a minute, which won't even make you dizzy. A flat ocean, where a thin liner is steaming just above the surface, heading towards other water. Passengers are thrown in the furnace, one by one, when the wood or coal runs out. Hopefully they'll get to the other side without too many casualties. Aerial view, or map, in English, of the ancient juncture of Tigris and Euphrates rivers just above Basra, in Mesopotamia. Some maps show that there, the two rivers roar around each other, each angry with the other's water, which has a different taste. some sort of a fortress at the top of a hill, somewhere down the road from Trinity's site. Built there by the Jaredites, people the Mormons said came to the U.S. in the Bible period and might have been either friends or enemies of the Indians, or by the Babylonian architect who, embarrassed by the fall of Babel, left town with them, and since that time has been reduced to smaller, more practical, and eventually longer-lasting structures. Sumerian tablets with their wedged vector-style writing, tied into Celtic knots. A compass record, showing direction, acceleration, and whether the person, or money, arrived. A few significant letroids, probably not bodies of the dead, but self-important nonetheless. A famous picture of the Tower of Babel's gyre, diminishing into darkness. Once I saw a Japanese movie, projected in a Saturday afternoon gymnasium, which explained the story of an underground submarine that had a screw-shaped nose much like the top of the Tower of Babel. At least that's what you saw for a moment when it popped out of the ground, to confound enemies who spoke in a foreign language, except when delivering threats, and who lived in the center of the earth. Twin Babels, with symmetric spires, against a background of many stars, or just simple floating lights, glowing bees, of the kind that once made Babel famous. That's how the city made its money, and what it famous for, before the famous tower. The honey beer made from, brewed inside? The record isn't clear, in fact can't be translated, the hives of the glowing bees of Babel. Warlike ancient fighters from a region to the north of Basra, linked in parallel layers on stone set in the wall of the British Museum. Jacob thinks they are fighting the bees, and losing. A single bowman. Those ripples are water, where the dead are thrown. Then the projector runs in reverse, and they pop up again, full of vim, having drunk some of that slow-running honey liquor that looked for a moment might be their final sinking place. A victim in flight, or maybe the transformation of the flying arrow to a flying victim, or a flying aggressor. First time in flight, somewhat surprised at this new power, and not quite in control of it, thus the clumsy flight posture. Those twin Babel towers, always awake and waiting, the insurance headquarters of a lost age. Will you please be quiet, please? Shocking close-up of Babel Tower ruin. Back on the VTV, we can see that the secret of the Trinity Site monument has been revealed. It is either the right or the left, or the left or the right, depending on which part of the city you used to live in. Side of the Great Babel Twin Tower Complex. Jacob's feet walk in, carrying a man lost in his shoes.
I knew that I was from Alamogordo. I realized that couldn't be more than 50 miles by car. But I didn't know how I could ever get back. I knew that I was from Alamogordo. I realized that couldn't be more than 50 miles by car. But I didn't know how I could ever get back. I knew that I was from Alamogordo. I realized that couldn't be more than 50 miles by car. But I didn't know how I could ever get back. I knew that I was from Alamogordo. I realized that couldn't be more than 50 miles by car. But I didn't know how I could ever get back.
A full blue sky. An insect of some sort that flies suddenly through the frame, preceding Jacob, who also flies in from the left. Blue sky, that's my brain, he thinks, this endless earth, that's my feet. Jacob's point of view, looking down at his feet as the cracked ground moves beneath. Most of the material that fused there during the blast has already been bulldozed up, though not before many enlisted men were able to collect barrels full to sell to rock collectors. Unfortunately, this was a dirty bomb. Most of the plutonium vaporized and was captured in the green glass, trinitite, that came to cover the ground in a circle around the vanished tower. Jacob kicks the ground, sending our eyes across the many small living plants. Not a healthy land, and the little fairies that usually lurk in the underbrush are smaller than usual here, though that is also just natural in the desert.
Except perhaps as a bomb. Except perhaps as a bomb. Except perhaps as a bomb. Except perhaps as a bomb.
Forever lucid, Jacob lies on a tarmac beneath the open bomb bay doors of a B-52 left parked nearby. Good place for a nap, he thinks somewhat ingenuously, and drifts off. Low-angle shot over the wing of this craft. Zoom up. A plane filled with passengers, all of them in metal suits, ready to jump without a parachute, heading straight towards the living room of your house at Thanksgiving. Their Thanksgiving Day, not ours. Advancing over a model-board landscape. Battery-powered trains have been zoned to run underground. Plastic people have the run of the woods. And the trees, engineered to look like bonsai, are actually a virulent form of slow-growing mold which makes all the engineers sneeze.
I couldn't allow that to happen. I had to call Melissa and warn her. I couldn't allow that to happen. I had to call Melissa and warn her. I couldn't allow that to happen. I had to call Melissa and warn her. I couldn't allow that to happen. I had to call Melissa and warn her.
A B-52 in the sky, rolling down through the haze to bring Jacob up into its arms. Jacob still looking up, trying to put together the right words of thank you, and also hoping that he can still remember how to send those words up without visible speech to the quickly departing B-52 that was kind enough to drop him off here. Somehow he got seriously off course, looking for food, and would never have made tonight's port of call without that little bit of friendly flight. A bleep, a pause, and then Jacob, already forgetting, turns and heads towards the telephone. The phone's white case is open, and the marker is seen in the background.
I dialed O for the operator, but got ground zero instead. Dialed O for the operator, but got ground zero instead. Dialed O for the operator, but got ground zero instead. spelled O for the operator, but got ground zero instead.
Jacob dials 0. A view under the desert, on our way to the center of the earth. Suddenly, between the perpetual strata, we see the sun rise, sending out lines of health in every direction, emptying itself out to do this, leaving behind a grid, functional void, which also bleeds huge light. A great puff of smoke from an explosion above ground. This mysteriously disappears, to momentarily show a hive step, which is either the source, or a cap which kept the smoke in check. A proto-angel explodes, hoping to shake the wet from its new wings. Across the desert from Trinity, a cloud fist begins to rise from some parallel explosion. Actually, every year on Trinity Anniversary Day, it appears that DNA, Defense Nuclear Agency, just down the road, blows up a lot of ammonia/nitrate. This is a pre-test for that event. On the BTV, Jacob walks towards the roiling, delicately small cloud mushroom, hoping that if he gets there, he'll find an elevator button.
Over and over, I tried to make that call. Over and over, I tried to make that call. Over and over, I tried to make that call. Over and over, I tried to make that call.
Tied to a clothesline, Jacob spins in circles in front of the Trinity marker. hoping to generate enough static electricity to activate the Marca's electronics, and maybe power up its beacon, which he hoped will serve as an SOS beacon. The phone box, and a squat monument visible behind it. Jacob has reached orbital velocity, spinning into frame on a straight line. He lands near the open phone box. Having reached his goal, he reaches inside and picks up the phone.
Then I remembered. Then I remembered. Then I remembered. Then I remembered.
Jacob, now back in touch with himself, whoever that is, and why would he want to, kicks up the dust that surrounds his now radioactive feet. The Earth's crust is thin here, and too hard a kick will open up a gaping hole, showing the glowing lights of a little city, 100 miles below, down there, through the accidental crack. Jacob squats to look at pebbles of trinitite. Each looks like a sad bee. Each has a little word attached to it, which he expects he'll be able to see if he keeps staring. The 3 green pieces, left over from the inches-thick, glass smooth covering that bomb left behind. They still emit various sorts of particles, all of which have within them the ability to tell some old X-ray story, the kind you shouldn't be exposed to.
The BTV showed me that I was at Trinity site. The BTV showed me that I was at Trinity site. The BTV showed me that I was at Trinity site. The BTV showed me that I was at Trinity site.
Clusters of the identical dead drop out of the dark surrounding the trinitite rocks, and into our eye. Even blinking 30 times a second, we can't keep it out. A pentagon with 7 aspects, aka the BTV, tilted to show us this exterior shape. Inside, we see Trinity marker also pointing in many directions, but particularly towards the center, and the strangely colored sky void there.
So that I would understand, the bees showed me a little movie called A Garden of Eden Cave, starring me, Jacob Maker, as Fat Boy, the first and loneliest plutonium bomb, so that I would understand, the bees showed me a little movie called A Garden of Eden Cave, starring me, Jacob Maker, as Fat Boy, the first and loneliest plutonium bomb, so that I would understand, the bees showed me a little movie called A Garden of Eden Cave, starring me, Jacob Maker, as Fat Boy, the first and loneliest plutonium bomb, so that I would understand, the bees showed me a little movie called A Garden of Eden Cave, starring me, Jacob Maker, as Fat Boy, the first and loneliest plutonium bomb.
The BTV speaks in a simple artificial language proposed years ago by an Australian scientist. First a square in the dark. Go here. Leave now. Don't stop for gas. You won't need any. We've already filled the tank. The void language speaks a house mark. In the house there is a table. On the table is a model kit box. Built the kit. Makes a mini house. Looking inside, there's no furniture. But there is a little sticky paper on the plastic floor, supposed to be a carpet, and you somehow see that rug too close, as if you were in there, lying on the floor, looking between the fibers at all the tiny dust chunks that have embedded themselves there. Giant boulders now. And you're falling. Or is that shrinking? Forever. Two circles around a dot. A musical tune, circular, somewhat monotonous, sold under the drone trademark, and known as simply as Target among its fans. Someone's hit the switch again, up in the control room, out in the guard booth, and the Garden of Eden sign is all lit up once more. This time it plays out in a slightly different way, either that, or our attention span is longer now, and we get to see more of its rotation. And for the first time we see a strange word, cave, start to pop in. This happens twice. Then the sign tidies itself, pretending that nothing happened. Though we just saw the Garden of Eden sign, we're not in the backyard back home anymore, but off on work assignment, here at the base of the original Trinity bomb tower. They had to lift this first bomb up in the sky to get the proper effect, then did it for real, dropping it down, rather than lifting it up, over Nagasaki, with the clone of the design shown here. The bumpy bomb is vaguely visible, right now, here, see it? We can begin to see all the bandages on this bomb. Just out of the bomb hospital, where they planted all sorts of sensors under its metal skin. Or is this some sort of bathysphere, not a bomb? And the tape covering up leaks that keep appearing, threatening to flood the researchers inside? If this bubble looks like a bathysphere, that's what it is. But there are some counterintuitive topologies at work here. Actually we, and the rest of our world, are inside it, though the sphere surface seems to enclose something inside it. Actually that apparently tiny sphere surface covers and protects our entire world from the terrible pressures of the much larger atmosphere and worlds that lie behind it. The scientists who made it knew this.
I lived in a mad tower above Trinity side. The day of my death, the other dead came to visit me. I lived in a mad tower above Trinity side. The day of my death, the other dead came to visit me. I lived in a mad tower above Trinity side. The day of my death, the other dead came to visit me. I lived in a mad tower above Trinity side. The day of my death, the other dead came to visit me.
Raising the sad proto-bomb up on a skyhook. The end of the cable is attached to the moon. The cable fibers are a bit frayed. Hope we can get it all the way up to the top of the tower. The ascension proceeds through later vaporized girders, whose iron molecules have cooled and self-organized as planets elsewhere in the universe. We can see the top platform, where the bomb spent the night on several GI mattresses, cooled by water from a water hose. The mad tower where this bomb, freak of nature, was forced to live, until it died. The road leading up to the isolated vacation home of the brooding bomb, seen from its point of view, up there on the Widow's Walk, where it climbs every day to scan the empty ocean for approaching passenger ships. There's one. Turn on the crash detector. Keep away from my shores. Thinks the bomb, which actually doesn't see a ship. It is just rehearsing what it would do if it saw one. The dead appear, as they often do, in the shape of the hexagon/pentagon, a happy shape of the always swarming BTV. Blank white was the theme color of post-colonial radium cities that someday would come to be, according to technology watchers at the beginning of the 20th century.